The nightclub was in full swing, the pulsating beat of the music blending seamlessly with the flashing lights. I stood near the entrance, scanning the dance floor for my wife, Jessica. I finally spotted her, and my heart sank. She was in the arms of a man I had never seen before, moving to the rhythm in a way that was far too intimate for a woman who was supposed to be married. I moved closer, trying to convince myself that I was mistaken, but the closer I got, the more I realized that there was no mistake. Jessica was laughing, her face inches from his, her hands on his shoulders. Then before I could even process what was happening, they kissed. It wasn't a peck on the cheek, but a full-on passionate kiss that left no room for doubt about their relationship. My mind went blank for a moment, a wave of shock and betrayal washing over me. I wanted to storm over there, to confront her, to drag her away from him. But something stopped me. Instead, I walked to the bar, ordered a strong drink, and downed it in one go. The alcohol burned my throat, but it did nothing to numb the pain in my chest. As I watched them from a distance, I felt a cold, calculated fury begin to replace the initial shock. I left the club without her noticing, my mind already working on a plan. This wasn't something I could let slide. She had to face the consequences of her actions. The next morning, my mind was clearer, but my resolve was just as strong. I knew that revenge was a dish best served cold, and I intended to serve it up in a way she'd never forget. I started by gathering information about the man she had been with. His name was Mark, and he worked for a large company in the city. A little more digging revealed that he was married and had 2 children. His wife, Anna, was a strikingly beautiful woman, and I decided she would be the key to my plan. I reached out to her on social media, introducing myself and suggesting that we meet to discuss something important. She agreed, and we met at a quiet cafe downtown. When I told her what I had seen in the club, she was devastated. But like me, she quickly moved from shock to anger, and then to a desire for revenge. We decided to work together to teach Mark and Jessica a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. Our plan was simple but effective. We would arrange for Mark and Jessica to run into each other at the most unexpected moment. One evening, Anna invited Mark to dinner at a restaurant where I had already booked a table for myself and Jessica. We arrived at the restaurant and settled in, waiting for the fireworks to begin. When Mark and Jessica saw each other, the looks on their faces were priceless, a mix of shock, guilt, and fear. Anna and I raised our glasses, toasting to betrayal and the inevitable truth that always comes to light. In that moment, I felt a sense of triumph. Our revenge was complete, and it was sweeter than I could have ever imagined. The morning after our night at the club, I couldn't shake the image of Jessica and Mark from my mind. My resolve hardened as I delved into the details of Mark's life. He was a high-ranking executive at a major corporation, well-respected in his field. His wife, Anna, was a stay-at-home mom who doted on their 2 young children. It didn't take long to find her on social media. She had an active presence, often posting pictures of their seemingly perfect family life. I crafted a carefully worded message, explaining that we needed to talk about something important concerning her husband. I didn't give too much away, just enough to pique her interest and concern. To my relief, she responded quickly, agreeing to meet me at a cafe downtown the following afternoon. When Anna walked into the cafe, I immediately recognized her from her photos. She was strikingly beautiful, with an air of grace and composure that seemed unshakable. I stood up to greet her, noticing the wary look in her eyes. "Thank you for meeting me, Anna," I said, gesturing for her to sit down. "Of course," she replied, her voice steady. "What is this about?" I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "I saw something last night that I think you need to know about. My wife Jessica was with your husband at a nightclub. They were very close." Her expression didn't change immediately, but I saw the flicker of shock in her eyes. She took a moment to process what I had said before responding. "Are you sure it was them?" "Yes," I said firmly. "I saw them kissing. There was no mistake." Anna's composure began to crack, and she looked away, blinking rapidly. "I can't believe this," she whispered. I thought we were happy." "I understand how you feel," I said gently, "but I think we can turn this around. We can make them face the consequences of their actions." She looked back at me, anger replacing the shock in her eyes. "What do you have in mind?" "We need to catch them off guard," I said. "If we can arrange for them to see each other in a situation where they won't expect it, We can confront them together. It will force them to confront what they've done. Anna nodded slowly. I want to make them understand the pain they've caused. Over the next few days, Anna and I planned our next move. We decided to set up a dinner at a nice restaurant, where we would each bring our respective spouses. Anna would invite Mark under the guise of a romantic evening, and I would do the same with Jessica. The key was timing and location, a place where they wouldn't expect to see each other, but where the confrontation could be public enough to make an impact. The night of the dinner, I could feel the tension in the air. Jessica seemed oblivious, chatting away about her day as we drove to the restaurant. My mind was racing, but I kept my demeanor calm, not wanting to tip her off. When we arrived, I saw Anna and Mark already seated. Anna caught my eye and gave a slight nod. We walked over to our table, and the moment Jessica saw Mark, her face went pale. Mark looked equally stunned, his eyes darting from Jessica to me and then to Anna. Fancy seeing you here, I said, my voice dripping with irony. Jessica stammered, What is this? Anna and I sat down, maintaining a united front. This, Anna said coolly, is where the truth comes out. The look of guilt on their faces was exactly what I had hoped for. We didn't need to raise our voices or cause a scene. The quiet confrontation was enough to make them squirm. We ordered drinks and made a toast, letting the reality of their betrayal sink in. As the evening progressed, it became clear that the damage was done. Mark and Jessica tried to explain, to apologize, but their words fell flat. The trust was broken, and there was no going back. Driving home that night, Jessica was silent, her earlier cheerfulness replaced by a heavy, oppressive guilt. I didn't say much, letting the weight of the evening speak for itself. The first step of my revenge was complete, and I felt a grim satisfaction. This was only the beginning. In the days following our orchestrated confrontation, the atmosphere at home was tense. Jessica tried to explain herself multiple times, but each attempt only deepened the chasm between us. I remained calm on the surface, but inside the betrayal still festered. My thoughts often wandered to Anna and our shared goal of ensuring our spouses faced the full consequences of their actions. Anna and I stayed in touch, updating each other on the fallout from our respective confrontations. Mark had moved out, staying with a friend while Anna considered her options. Jessica, meanwhile, was living in a state of constant apology and regret, but it wasn't enough. I needed more than her words to heal the wound she had inflicted. One evening, as I sat in my study, my phone buzzed with a message from Anna. She suggested we meet up to discuss our next steps. I agreed, and we arranged to meet at the same cafe where we had first planned our confrontation. When I arrived, Anna was already there, a determined look on her face. We exchanged pleasantries before diving into the matter at hand. I've been thinking, Anna began, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. We need to make sure they understand the depth of their betrayal, not just to us, but to our families as well. I nodded. Agreed. What do you have in mind? Anna leaned in, her eyes glinting with a mix of anger and resolve. I want to expose them publicly. They've tried to keep this under wraps, pretending it was just a mistake, but they need to face the repercussions. I listened as she outlined her plan. We would gather evidence of their affair photos, messages, anything that could leave no room for doubt. Then, we would anonymously send this evidence to their colleagues, friends, and family. It would be a final, irrefutable blow to their carefully constructed facades. Over the next few weeks, Anna and I worked tirelessly to compile the evidence. I went through Jessica's phone and email, finding numerous incriminating messages and photos. Anna did the same with Mark's belongings, uncovering even more damning proof of their affair. Once we had everything we needed, we created an anonymous email account and began sending the evidence to everyone in their circles. The reactions were swift and explosive. Mark and Jessica were inundated with calls and messages from shocked friends and colleagues, their reputations in tatters. Jessica confronted me, tears streaming down her face. How could you do this? She sobbed. You've ruined my life. I looked at her, my expression cold. You did this to yourself, Jessica. I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth. Meanwhile, Anna faced a similar scene at home. Mark was furious, but she stood her ground, refusing to let him twist the situation to make her the villain. She was resolute, determined to reclaim her life and protect her children from further harm. As the dust settled, it became clear that there was no salvaging our marriages. Jessica and I agreed to separate, the trust between us irreparably broken. Mark and Anna also began the process of divorce, their relationship shattered by the betrayal. Anna and I continued to support each other through the difficult transitions. We met regularly, sharing updates and offering words of encouragement. Despite the pain, there was a sense of closure in knowing that we had taken control of our situations and refused to be victims of our spouse's infidelity. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Anna and I found ourselves at the cafe once more. We sat in silence for a while, the weight of our experiences hanging in the air. "We did it," Anna finally said, her voice soft but steady. "We made them face the consequences." I nodded, a sense of grim satisfaction settling over me. Yes, we did. And now, we can start to rebuild our lives. As we raised our glasses in a silent toast, I realized that this journey, though painful, had made us stronger. We had confronted the betrayal head-on and emerged on the other side, ready to face whatever came next. In the weeks that followed, the repercussions of our actions rippled through our lives. Jessica moved out, staying with a friend until she could find a more permanent place. The house felt strangely empty without her, but I welcomed the solitude. It gave me time to reflect and begin the process of healing. Anna and I remained in close contact. Our shared experience had forged a unique bond between us, one that was rooted in pain but also in a mutual determination to move forward. We often met to discuss how we were handling the aftermath and to provide each other with much-needed support. One evening, Anna called me, her voice sounding unusually upbeat. "James, I've been thinking. We've spent so much time dealing with the fallout of their betrayal, but maybe it's time to focus on ourselves. How about we take a break, just for a weekend to clear our heads?" I was taken aback but intrigued by the idea. "What do you have in mind?" "There's a cabin upstate that my family used to visit when I was a kid," she explained. "It's secluded and peaceful. I thought it might be a good place to unwind and recharge." The idea of escaping the city and the constant reminders of our failed marriages was appealing. "That sounds perfect. Let's do it." We arranged to leave the following Friday. As I packed my bags, I felt a mix of anticipation and apprehension. This trip wasn't about rekindling romance, but about finding a way to move forward. The drive to the cabin was scenic, the dense forest gradually giving way to a serene lake surrounded by tall pines. When we arrived, Anna led me to the cabin, a rustic but cozy structure nestled among the trees. "This place is beautiful," I said, taking in the surroundings. Anna smiled. "It always had a calming effect on me. I hope it does the same for you." We spent the first evening sitting on the porch, talking about everything except our exes. We shared stories from our pasts, our dreams, and our fears. It was liberating to focus on something other than the betrayal that had consumed us for so long. The next day, we hiked along the lake, the fresh air and natural beauty providing a much-needed balm for our wounded spirits. We talked about our plans for the future, realizing that we both needed to rebuild our lives on our own terms. That evening, as the sun set over the lake, Anna and I sat by the fireplace, sipping wine and enjoying the quiet. "I think this was exactly what we needed," she said, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "I agree," I replied. "It's good to step away from everything and just breathe." Anna looked thoughtful. "You know, James, we've been through a lot together. And while it's been painful, I'm grateful to have had you by my side." I nodded. "I feel the same way, Anna. We've helped each other through the worst of it. And now, it's time to focus on the best of what's ahead." As we sat there, I realized that this trip had been about more than just escaping our problems. It had been about finding a way to let go of the past and embrace the future. We had both been broken, but together we had started to heal. The next morning, as we prepared to leave, I felt a sense of renewal. The pain of betrayal hadn't vanished, but it had lessened. Anna and I had found a way to turn our shared trauma into a source of strength. On the drive back, we talked about the practical steps we would take to move forward. Anna planned to focus on her career and her children, finding new ways to create a stable and happy home. I intended to invest more time in my work and explore new hobbies that had always interested me, but had been pushed aside. By the time we returned to the city, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Jessica's betrayal had changed me, but it hadn't destroyed me. I was ready to face the future, whatever it held. Anna and I hugged goodbye, promising to stay in touch. As I walked into my now quiet home, I knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but it was one I was ready to take. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about what lay ahead. Returning to the city after our weekend getaway, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The peaceful interlude had given me the clarity I needed to start rebuilding my life. I poured myself into my work, taking on new projects and responsibilities. My colleagues noticed the change, commenting on my renewed focus and energy. Anna and I continued to support each other, meeting regularly for coffee or dinner to share updates and provide encouragement. Her strength and resilience inspired me, and I found myself looking forward to our conversations. Despite the chaos of our lives, we had found a steady rhythm of mutual support. One evening, as we sat in a quiet corner of our favorite cafe, Anna looked at me thoughtfully. "James, have you thought about dating again?" The question took me by surprise. I had been so focused on moving forward and healing that I hadn't considered the possibility of opening myself up to someone new. "Honestly, I haven't," I admitted. "It's been a lot to process, and I'm not sure I'm ready." Anna nodded understandingly. "I get it. It's a daunting thought after everything we've been through. But I think it's important to remember that we deserve happiness and companionship." I appreciated her perspective, but the idea of dating again felt overwhelming. "Maybe one day," I said, smiling. "For now, I'm just focusing on myself." As the weeks turned into months, I continued to find solace in my work and the new hobbies I had taken up. I joined a local gym, started reading more, and even took up painting, something I had always been curious about but never had the time for. These activities provided a welcome distraction and a sense of accomplishment. Anna, too, was thriving. She had found a new job that she loved and was spending more quality time with her children. Our friendship deepened as we continued to lean on each other, celebrating small victories and providing comfort during tough moments. One afternoon while I was at work, I received a call from Anna. She sounded excited, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "James, I have some news. I met someone." Her words brought a smile to my face. "That's great, Anna. Tell me everything." She explained that she had met a kind, thoughtful man named David at a work event. They had been on a few dates, and she felt a connection that she hadn't experienced in a long time. "I was hesitant at first," she admitted, "but he's been so understanding and patient. It's been wonderful." I was genuinely happy for her. "You deserve this, Anna. I'm glad you found someone who makes you happy." Our conversation made me reflect on my own situation. While I wasn't ready to date just yet, I realized that I was open to the idea of finding happiness and companionship again. The thought was both comforting and empowering. As time went on, I continued to build my new life, finding joy in the little things and taking pride in my progress. The pain of Jessica's betrayal had lessened, replaced by a sense of acceptance and a determination to create a better future. One evening, as I was working on a painting in my living room, my phone buzzed with a text from Anna. It was a photo of her and David, smiling and looking genuinely happy. The caption read, "Found my happiness. Hope you find yours too." I smiled, feeling a warm sense of contentment. Anna's journey had shown me that it was possible to find joy after heartbreak, and I knew that I too would find my path to happiness in my own time. For now, I was content with the progress I had made and the person I was becoming. The future was uncertain, but it was also full of possibilities. And that, I realized, was something to look forward to. As the months passed, the sense of normalcy that had eluded me for so long began to return. My days were filled with productive work, new hobbies, and regular meetings with Anna. Her relationship with David continued to flourish, and seeing her happy gave me hope for my own future. One Friday evening, I decided to treat myself to a night out. I visited a local art gallery that was hosting a new exhibition. Art had become a passion of mine, and I found solace in the creativity and expression on display. As I wandered through the gallery admiring the paintings and sculptures, I felt a sense of peace. While studying a particularly striking piece, I noticed a woman standing next to me. She seemed equally captivated by the artwork. We exchanged a brief smile before turning back to the painting. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said, breaking the silence. "It is," I agreed. "There's something about the colors and the way they're blended that really speaks to me." She nodded. I feel the same way. It's like the artist captured a moment of pure emotion. We introduced ourselves. Her name was Rachel, and she was an art teacher at a local high school. We struck up a conversation about the exhibition, sharing our thoughts on the various pieces. There was an easy rapport between us, and I found myself enjoying her company. As the evening progressed, Rachel and I continued to explore the gallery together, our conversation flowing effortlessly. When the exhibition ended, I suggested we grab a coffee at a nearby cafe. She agreed, and we spent the next couple of hours talking about our lives, our passions, and our experiences. Rachel was kind, intelligent, and had a warmth that drew me in. As we talked, I realized that I hadn't felt this comfortable with someone new in a long time. When it was time to part ways, we exchanged phone numbers and promised to keep in touch. Over the next few weeks, Rachel and I saw each other regularly. We attended more art exhibitions, went for walks in the park, and enjoyed long conversations over coffee. There was no rush, no pressure, just two people getting to know each other and enjoying each other's company. One evening, as we sat in a cozy corner of a small bistro, Rachel looked at me thoughtfully. "James, I know we've both been through a lot. I appreciate that we've taken things slow, but I wanted to let you know that I really enjoy spending time with you." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I feel the same way, Rachel. You've brought a lot of joy into my life, and I'm grateful for that." Our relationship continued to deepen, and I found myself looking forward to our time together more and more. Rachel understood my past and respected my need to move at my own pace. She had her own experiences with heartbreak, and we often shared stories of our journeys to healing. As the seasons changed, so did our relationship. What started as a tentative friendship blossomed into something more. We spent holidays together, met each other's friends, and slowly integrated our lives. One crisp autumn day, as we walked hand in hand through a park covered in vibrant leaves, I realized how far I had come. The pain of Jessica's betrayal had faded, replaced by a deep sense of contentment and hope for the future. Rachel had become an important part of my life, and I was grateful for the second chance at happiness. Anna and I remained close friends, and she was delighted to see me happy. We often met for coffee, catching up on our lives and celebrating our progress. Her relationship with David continued to thrive, and we supported each other through the ups and downs. Looking back, I saw the journey I had taken, from the depths of betrayal and heartbreak to the light of new beginnings. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. With Rachel by my side and Anna as a steadfast friend, I felt ready to embrace whatever the future held. The first signs of winter began to creep into the city, bringing with them a sense of introspection and renewal. Rachel and I had settled into a comfortable routine, our relationship growing stronger with each passing day. Despite the chill in the air, my life felt warmer and more vibrant than it had in a long time. One weekend, Rachel suggested we take a short trip to the mountains. She had found a charming cabin rental, perfect for a cozy getaway. Excited by the idea, I agreed. The thought of escaping the city and spending time together in a serene, snowy landscape was appealing. We left early on a Saturday morning, the drive filled with laughter and light conversation. As we climbed higher into the mountains, the scenery transformed into a winter wonderland. The trees were dusted with snow, and the crisp air carried a sense of calm. The cabin was everything Rachel had described and more. Nestled among the pines, it had a rustic charm that immediately made me feel at home. We unpacked our bags and settled in, lighting a fire in the stone fireplace. The warmth of the flames and the crackling of the wood created a cozy, intimate atmosphere. That evening, we cooked dinner together, enjoying the simple pleasure of preparing a meal in each other's company. Afterward, we sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets, sipping hot cocoa. The conversation flowed easily, our connection deepening with every word. As the night grew colder, we ventured outside to admire the stars. The sky was clear, and the constellations seemed to shine brighter in the crisp mountain air. We stood in awe, our breaths visible in the frosty air. "It's beautiful," Rachel whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "It is," I agreed, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. "Being here with you makes it even better." We returned to the warmth of the cabin, where Rachel suggested we play a game. She pulled out a deck of cards and taught me a game she used to play with her family. We laughed and teased each other, the playful competition adding another layer to our growing bond. The next day, we decided to explore the surrounding area. We hiked through the snow-covered trails, the landscape pristine and untouched. As we walked, Rachel shared stories from her childhood, and I found myself opening up about my own experiences. There was a sense of mutual understanding and acceptance that made me feel incredibly close to her. Back at the cabin, we spent the afternoon reading and talking, the quiet companionship feeling natural and comforting. As the sun set, we cooked another meal together, savoring the moment and the simplicity of our time away from the hustle and bustle of the city. That night, as we sat by the fire once more, Rachel looked at me with a serious expression. "James, I want you to know how much you mean to me. This time we've spent together has been wonderful, and I can't imagine my life without you." Her words touched me deeply. "I feel the same way, Rachel. You've brought so much joy and warmth into my life. I never thought I'd find happiness again after everything that happened, but you proved me wrong." We sat in silence for a moment, the fire casting a soft glow over the room. I realized how much Rachel had come to mean to me, and I felt a surge of gratitude for the second chance at love and happiness. As we prepared to leave the cabin the next morning, I couldn't help but feel a sense of renewal. The trip had been a turning point, solidifying our bond and affirming our commitment to each other. The drive back to the city was filled with a comfortable silence, both of us reflecting on the beautiful memories we had created. Upon returning home, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The future was no longer a daunting, uncertain prospect, but a canvas of endless possibilities. With Rachel by my side and the support of friends like Anna, I knew I was ready to face whatever came next. Life had thrown its challenges my way, but I had emerged stronger and more resilient. The journey had been difficult, but it had also led me to a place of genuine happiness and fulfillment, and for that, I was profoundly grateful. As winter deepened, Rachel and I continued to find joy in our shared experiences and the quiet comfort of our relationship. The holidays were approaching, bringing a mix of nostalgia and new traditions. This year, we decided to host a holiday dinner together, inviting close friends and family to celebrate in our home. The preparations were a whirlwind of activity. Rachel and I spent days planning the menu, decorating the house, and making sure everything was perfect. We wanted the evening to be special, a testament to the new life we were building together. On the day of the dinner, I felt a blend of excitement and nervousness. It was the first time many of our friends and family would see us as a couple, and I wanted everything to go smoothly. Rachel's calm demeanor and reassuring smile helped to ease my anxiety. As guests began to arrive, the house filled with warmth and laughter. Anna and David were among the first to come, bringing a bottle of wine and a plate of homemade cookies. Anna hugged me tightly, her eyes shining with happiness. "Look at you," she said, her voice filled with genuine affection. "I'm so proud of how far you've come." "Thank you, Anna," I replied, squeezing her hand. "I couldn't have done it without your support." The evening was a resounding success. The house buzzed with conversation and the clinking of glasses, everyone enjoying the delicious food and the festive atmosphere. I took a moment to step back and observe, feeling a deep sense of contentment. This was what happiness looked like, surrounded by people who cared about us, celebrating the season and the bonds we had forged. After dinner, we gathered in the living room for a gift exchange. Rachel and I had worked together to choose thoughtful presents for each guest, and the joy on their faces as they unwrapped their gifts was priceless. When it was my turn, Rachel handed me a small, beautifully wrapped box. "Open it," she said, her eyes twinkling with anticipation. Inside the box was a key, not just any key, but one that I recognized immediately. It was the key to her apartment. "Rachel," I began, feeling a lump form in my throat. "I want you to move in with me, James," she said, her voice steady and sincere. "We've built something wonderful together, and I want to take the next step. I want us to share our lives, not just our time." Overwhelmed with emotion, I looked at her, then around the room at our friends and family, who were smiling encouragingly. "Yes," I said, my voice thick with gratitude. "I would love that." The room erupted in applause and cheers, and I felt a surge of happiness unlike anything I had experienced in a long time. This was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with promise and the possibility of a future built on love and trust. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Rachel and I stood by the door, thanking everyone for coming. Anna hugged me once more, whispering in my ear, "You deserve this, James. I'm so happy for you." "Thank you, Anna," I whispered back, "for everything." After the last guest had left, Rachel and I sat together on the couch, the house now quiet and serene. We talked about the evening, our hopes for the future, and the excitement of starting this new chapter together. The days that followed were filled with the practicalities of moving in together. We spent hours merging our belongings, making space for each other in our lives and in our home. It was a process that required patience and compromise, but each step brought us closer. As winter gave way to the first hints of spring, I felt a sense of renewal and optimism. The journey from betrayal to healing had been long and difficult, but it had also led me to a place of profound happiness and fulfillment. Rachel and I continued to build our life together, finding joy in the everyday moments and the promise of what lay ahead. With her by my side, I felt ready to face any challenge, confident in the strength of our bond and the love we shared. And so, with a heart full of hope and gratitude, I embraced the future, knowing that the best was yet to come. As spring blossomed, Rachel and I settled into our new life together. The past year's trials seemed like distant memories, replaced by the excitement and promise of a fresh start. Our home, now a blend of our shared tastes and belongings, felt like a true sanctuary. One sunny Saturday morning, Rachel suggested we take a road trip to visit a small coastal town she had always loved. It was a place she had visited with her family as a child, and she wanted to share its beauty with me. I eagerly agreed, looking forward to the adventure. We packed a picnic and set off early, the drive filled with laughter and the hum of our favorite songs. The scenery gradually changed from urban sprawl to rolling hills, and finally, to the breathtaking coastline. The town itself was charming, with quaint shops, cozy cafes, and a picturesque beach that stretched out along the ocean. Rachel led me to a secluded spot she remembered from her childhood. We spread out a blanket, unpacked our picnic, and spent the afternoon basking in the sun, the sound of waves crashing against the shore providing a soothing backdrop. As we lay there, side by side, Rachel turned to me with a serious expression. "James, there's something I've been meaning to talk to you about." I felt a flicker of apprehension but nodded for her to continue. "I know we've both come a long way from the pain and betrayal of our pasts," she began, "and being with you has shown me what real love and trust look like. I don't want to rush things, but I want to know if you've thought about our future together, where you see us going." Her words resonated with the thoughts and feelings I had been carrying. I took a deep breath and looked into her eyes. "Rachel, being with you has been the most healing and fulfilling experience of my life. I've thought about our future a lot, and I see us building a life together, full of love and adventure. I'm committed to making this work, whatever it takes." A smile spread across her face, and she squeezed my hand. "I'm so glad to hear that, James. I feel the same way. I want us to keep growing together, supporting each other through everything life throws our way." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the waves and savoring the moment. It felt like a pivotal point in our relationship, a reaffirmation of our commitment to each other. The rest of the day was spent exploring the town, visiting local shops, and sharing stories about our pasts. As we wandered through the narrow streets, hand in hand, I realized how deeply I had fallen for Rachel. She had brought light back into my life, and I was grateful for every moment we shared. As the sun began to set, we returned to our picnic spot on the beach. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, reflecting on the water and creating a magical ambiance. Rachel leaned her head on my shoulder, and we watched the sunset together, feeling at peace. "James," Rachel said softly, breaking the silence, "there's one more thing I want to share with you." I turned to look at her, curiosity piqued. "Remember when we first met at the art gallery?" she asked. "I was going through a tough time too. I had just come out of a difficult relationship, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to open my heart again. But meeting you changed everything. You made me believe in love again." Her words touched me deeply. I took her hand in mine and kissed it gently. "Rachel, you've done the same for me. You've given me hope and joy when I thought I would never feel those things again. I'm so grateful for you." We sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, as the last light of the day faded away. The future was still uncertain, but with Rachel by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came our way. As we packed up and headed back to the car, I felt a sense of fulfillment and contentment that I hadn't experienced in a long time. The road ahead was unknown, but it was one I was eager to travel, hand in hand with the woman who had brought me back to life. Driving back home under the starry sky, I knew that our journey was just beginning, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. As summer approached, Rachel and I found ourselves fully immersed in the joy of building a life together. Our days were filled with laughter, shared meals, and exploring new hobbies. We had settled into a comfortable rhythm, each day bringing new opportunities for growth and connection. One weekend, Rachel suggested we visit her parents, who lived in a picturesque countryside setting a few hours away. She spoke fondly of her childhood memories there, and I was eager to meet the people who had shaped her into the remarkable woman she was. We arrived on a sunny Saturday afternoon, greeted warmly by Rachel's parents, Susan and Mark. Their home was nestled among rolling hills and lush gardens, a peaceful retreat from the hustle and bustle of city life. I immediately felt welcomed into their family, the genuine warmth and hospitality putting me at ease. Over the weekend, we shared delicious meals prepared with love, took leisurely walks through the countryside, and spent evenings gathered around the fire pit under a blanket of stars. Rachel's parents were kind and generous, sharing stories of Rachel's childhood and their own adventures. One evening after dinner, Susan pulled me aside for a private conversation. We sat on the porch swing, the sounds of crickets filling the air. "James, Rachel has been through a lot," Susan began, her voice gentle but firm. "I can see how much she cares for you, and I want you to know that we support your relationship wholeheartedly. But I also want to make sure you understand how important it is to cherish her, to protect her heart." Her words resonated with me, reminding me of the responsibility I had taken on when I entered Rachel's life. "I love Rachel deeply," I replied earnestly. "I want nothing more than to make her happy and to build a future together." Susan nodded, her expression softening. "I believe you, James. Rachel deserves happiness, and I'm glad she's found it with you." That conversation stayed with me, reaffirming my commitment to Rachel and our relationship. As the weekend came to a close and we said our goodbyes, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the love and acceptance I had found in Rachel's family. Back home, Rachel and I continued to nurture our relationship, savoring the memories we had created together. We talked openly about our hopes and dreams, weaving our individual aspirations into a shared vision for the future. One evening, as we sat on our balcony watching the sunset, Rachel turned to me with a smile. "James, I've been thinking about our future, about us." I turned to her, curious and eager to hear what she had to say. "I love where we are right now," she continued, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "And I believe in us. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building a family and creating memories together." Her words took my breath away. I had imagined this moment, but hearing it from Rachel made it real in a way I hadn't anticipated. "Rachel," I began, struggling to find the right words to express the depth of my feelings. "I love you. I want that too, a future together, filled with love and happiness." Tears welled up in Rachel's eyes as she reached for my hand. "James, you've brought so much joy into my life. I can't imagine my future without you." In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the setting sun and the promise of a new beginning, I knew that Rachel was my soulmate. Together, we had navigated through the pain of betrayal and emerged stronger, ready to embrace the future with open hearts. As we held each other close, I felt a profound sense of peace and certainty. Our journey had been filled with challenges and unexpected turns, but through it all, we had found each other. And that was all that mattered. With Rachel by my side, I knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together hand in hand, hearts intertwined. And as the stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, I whispered a silent thank you to the universe for bringing Rachel into my life. The road ahead was uncertain, but I had never been more certain of anything than I was of our love. As the summer days stretched lazily into early fall, Rachel and I began discussing the practicalities of our future together. We had already merged our lives in many ways, but now we needed to plan for the next steps, including where we would live long-term and what our shared goals would be. One crisp Saturday morning, over steaming mugs of coffee, We sat down at our kitchen table to have a serious conversation about our future. The sunlight streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow over our faces as we delved into our hopes and dreams. "James," Rachel began, her eyes filled with determination and love, "I think it's time we start looking for a place of our own, a place where we can build our future together." I nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. "I agree, Rachel. It's something I've been thinking about a lot too. I want us to have a home where we can create new memories and continue to grow." We spent the morning discussing our priorities: a comfortable space for both of us to work from home, a garden where Rachel could indulge her love of gardening, and a neighborhood with good schools for the future. We wrote down our must-haves and nice-to-haves, envisioning the life we wanted to build together. Later that day, we visited a few open houses in neighborhoods we liked. Walking through each home, we imagined ourselves living there, making mental notes of what we liked and what we didn't. It felt like the beginning of a new adventure, and the thought of creating a home together filled me with a sense of purpose. By the end of the day, we had a clearer idea of what we were looking for. We agreed to continue our search over the coming weeks, taking our time to find the perfect place that would truly feel like ours. As we drove home that evening, I glanced over at Rachel, a smile spreading across my face. "I'm excited about our future, Rachel. It feels like everything is falling into place." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Me too, James. I can't wait to start this new chapter of our lives together." That night, as we lay in bed, I reflected on how far we had come. From the pain of betrayal to the warmth of Rachel's love and companionship, my journey had been filled with unexpected twists and turns. But through it all, Rachel had been my rock, guiding me through the darkness and into the light. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the second chance at happiness that Rachel had given me. Our journey together was just beginning, and I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, hand in hand. The future was bright, filled with endless possibilities, and I couldn't wait to see where life would take us next. James and Rachel continue their search for a home together, exploring various neighborhoods and attending more open houses. They narrow down their choices and begin envisioning how each place could fit into their future. They also discuss practical matters such as finances and logistics, feeling excited and optimistic about the next chapter of their lives. James and Rachel finally find a house that feels like home. It's in a neighborhood they both love, with a spacious garden for Rachel and a home office for James. They make an offer and go through the process of closing on the house, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. As they move in and settle into their new home, they reflect on how far they've come and look forward to the future together. James and Rachel settle into their new home, unpacking boxes and arranging furniture together. They make it a place that reflects both of their personalities, blending their belongings and decorating with items that hold sentimental value. As they navigate the joys and challenges of home ownership, they continue to strengthen their bond and envision the life they want to build together in their new surroundings. James and Rachel reflect on their journey together, celebrating milestones and cherishing the everyday moments. They discuss their hopes and dreams for the future, from career aspirations to starting a family. With a deep sense of gratitude and love, they look forward to continuing their life journey together, knowing they have found their happiness and fulfillment in each other.